Hey, what's up, team? This is Eddie Gray from the YouTube channel The Modern Creative, and in conjunction with PSP AudioWare, I bring to you my production tips. And in this video, I just wanted to cover analog goodness. PSP has a bunch of great plugins for this. MicroWarmer is definitely one of those plugins. Got low latency capabilities, but it sounds immense. So I've got this bass here. Check it out without using PSP MicroWarmer. Now, just a heads up, I am using Infinistrip on it, so there is that. But if we're not using MicroWarmer, we get this. Not much. It's really just bare. It's just behind, right? MicroWarmer, great in many different ways. You've got this ability to add drive to the signal. You can control the low end, the high end. I'm going to use this just to kind of add a little bit of aggression. Sounds like this. So you can already see that sounds really good. PSP Saturator, I think, is also really next level. And this is a very kind of subtle thing, but I mean, makes such a marked difference. I'm using a tambourine, right? It's kind of like panning back and forth. But without it, it's another element that gets lost in the mix. Check it out. It really left the building in this case, right? But if I use PSP Saturator, I've got the ability to saturate. We can warm up the signal considerably, and then we get to pick kind of like where we're going to accentuate the signal, right? I chose 7K, and then I also like this section here where you get to choose the kind of saturation that you're going to do, and it goes like all across the continuum, right? Am I going to use a modern tape sound, warm to? I settled in with the hard clip or soft clip. Let's take a listen here. So again, if I bypass that, we get nothing really. Now, of course, you could do a bunch of things, right? There's different ways of getting to that same destination. What you want to do as a producer is have different ways, right? You want to sometimes use bus processing, sometimes you want to use auxes, sometimes you want to use saturators, exciters, so on and so forth. So I love this plugin. I love how real it sounds. I know I keep saying that, but it's the truth. It just sounds completely real, like it's going through some type of outboard gear. So earlier in the series, I showed you how I like to use VintageWarmer to compress my kicks as well. So I'm using this with the New York compression technique. Check that video out if you haven't already. All right, so now I want to show you PSP VintageWarmer 2. And this is different than the regular VintageWarmer because it's a digital high-end analog simulation. It's got this technology called frequency authentication technique. So whatever they're doing in the background is absolutely insane. Now I'm personally using this in the multi-band limiter mode. You can use this in different ways, but definitely turn on FAT if you're mastering. And I don't mind the auto button here as well, because now the limiting is going to be happening kind of in conjunction with my track's content. So it's going to be listening for the push and pull of my song. So without the auto button in place, this is going to sound like this. Has a nice feel to it, but I definitely like the intelligent auto algorithm. So let's try this out. So of course, we're going to want to distort the signal a little bit. So I'm going to push this. Let's go ahead and drive. And this is exactly why they created a mix knob here, so you can back off. And so the speed knob has basically two different ways of using it. You can go kind of for a more slow analog sound, and that's with the setting of 100. You could also go with very fast compression settings, and you could bring that down to 0. So for this mastering process, I definitely want the speed there. So this is going to give me a smoother sound. Now the knee, if you want to limit as hard as possible, you're going to want to use a hard knee. So that's around 0. And if you want a soft knee, you can go a little bit higher still. That's going to be a bit more gentle, but because I am limiting and getting ready for the final stage of limiting here, I'm not going to go that hard. So let's see what this sounds like. You can actually hear the sound open up as you back away from zero, so to speak. Check it out. So I'm creating a bit of a ceiling here just to kind of keep everything in check, accentuating 140 hertz. And then on the top end, I'm just trying to get all that high-end 16K information. Without that, sounds like this. So you can see why I made that decision, right? It just becomes a lot more exciting. So let's bring that back in. So let's listen before PSP VintageWarmer 2. If you're at that point where your song sounds good and you just need something to take it over the top, try out VintageWarmer 2. Here we go. So remember, you can use this in multi-band mode or in single mode. And if you're mastering, definitely turn on the FAT feature. Really great stuff here. And if you're not mastering, go ahead and use just the regular VintageWarmer. And again, they look pretty much the same, but do not be fooled. They have different purposes altogether. So you're going to get the same density with both of them, but one of them is for mastering, one of them is for track processing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. In the next video, we're going to be looking at PSP's brand new plugin, PSP Stereo Controller 2, and we're going to see what it can do for your master. All right, guys, I'll see you then. Cheers.